Okay, we will reconvene into open session at 5:36. And there is no action items to report. We will now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move on to item number 5, comment session, comments and announcements by board members. Lisa Torres.
Good evening. I just want to say welcome back. All staff, new principal. I don't know what normal is. Here. I was able to attend on Monday. Spencer, what was it? It was staff, back to school staff. And I came towards the end and we had, and I think they were very to getting to know one another and seeing who our teachers are. And I worked with 2 people that were from Stanford, and those teachers really do care. The group that I was with, they are very into education. So I just want to thank all the staff members that are out there and all the teachers, because they don't get all the kudos they always deserve. So welcome back.
Thank you. Jessica Anthony.
I really like your comments. Thank you. I'm going to piggyback on that. They're working really hard. They're doing a lot of work. They've been working, and the kids were really excited to go back to school today. So that's a good sign that they were excited to go back. That's it.
Thank you. Sandra Barnes.
Yeah, I'm just echoing everything that everyone said so far. Welcome back to school, everyone. My thoughts and prayers for a peaceful and constructive and normal school year. All of the kids are really very excited. I've been watching them come through Walmart all week, all month, and they're just beside themselves. It's amazing.
Thank you. Bill LeGrand.
I want to express the same sentiments to all of our teachers and our administrative staff and everybody. Welcome them back to another exciting year, and our students. I want to thank the district for coming to their national night out with the police department on August 1st. We had approximately, I believe, 750 to 1,000 people that attended that event. We were able to give away 500 hot dogs. So we had at least 500 people, I think, unless some people had 2, which is okay. I mean, that's just, and then we would give away 4 bicycles. It was a great interaction, not only with our police officers, with our community members, to get to know one another and just talk and have a good time. But it was also good to see the district there. Everybody was interested in our district and was interested in what our schools are doing. And I think it was a positive event for all of us all the way around. We're going to be doing something similar to that next month. We're going to be doing ice cream cones this time, though. When we're thinking about doing it on a Saturday morning, because I'm not sure that parents really would appreciate us giving their children a bunch of ice cream in the evening and sending them home when school's supposed to occur the next day. So anyway, we'll keep you up to date on that. And we'd certainly like to welcome you to join us.
All right. Thank you. And I'd like to reiterate the welcome back as well for all of our students and staff and families. I did also get to attend the welcome session on Monday. I was there for the breakfast and the celebration, which was fun. So there was a lot of positive energy, and the teachers were excited. Staff were excited. They're ready to get back to work, but they had some fun with each other. And it was a great kickoff to the school year. So thank you, Dr. Holtum, for offering that for the staff. And I was happy to be a part of that. All right. And now we will move on to comments, announcements by administration. Dr. Holtum.
Thank you, and reiterate everything that's been said about our staff. Wanted to publicly thank our mayor for attending our welcome back at the studios this morning. I was caught up a little bit at Stanford, and I rushed over there and he had already finished his presentation. I'm sorry I missed that, but he did a great job. And thank him for that. Want to thank our two board members for attending our welcome back on Monday. It was a big success, a lot of great feedback, and really, I think we're back. And today was my best first day of school in 6 years being here in the district. So I'm feeling optimistic that we're back. And I also want to publicly thank all the work that we've been doing with the city, and Chief LaGrone is a big part of that. We have brand new parking lot at Stanford that is beautiful. We have our track that is coming along nicely between Wyandotte and the studios. And we have other projects that we're moving forward with. And we have a great partnership with Oroville, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, and we did give away 10 boxes of water bottles at the National Night Out and hundreds of free books that were just old readers that from classrooms that are kind of old. So we don't just discard them, we give them away. And so we gave away hundreds of books, and a great night. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Andrew James.
Good evening. The last few weeks have kind of been like Santa's workshop before Christmas. Everybody's kind of back behind closed doors doing a lot of things all over the district. Today was a busy, good day. I know that Dr. Holtum, Troy, and myself were at different sites, and just excited to have a positive start to a school year. It's been a few years that we've had didn't have a dark cloud over us. So really positive about that, and just wanted to, thank all of the people that have been working these last few weeks, just really trying to make it a great school year. And we've been trying to reflect that on our social media and things. And kudos to Dr. Holtum for posting online every day so far this week, which has been really positive for me. So
Good. Thank you. Troy Coates.
Thank you. I just want to echo everybody's sentiment about the first day of school. There's nothing better than seeing the light in those eyes come in, the kids coming in. And then you also see the ones that look like they just woke up and, waking up from summer slumber, but they're coming in, and seeing the parents and the students and coming in, and especially the kindergartners, you see those eyes wide open. It's the reason why we do what we do. It's really refreshing. It's good to see. So I also was able to share the curriculum and instruction board report with you. I won't go through everything, but we do have had a lot of training going on this week to support with the new teachers, and training with our instructional coaches as well. A lot of things going on in curriculum and instruction to support our wonderful teachers here at Oroville. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And Holly Gutierrez.
Good evening. So today was the first time I was the active administrator for Sierra de Oral Inclusive Preschool, and it was wonderful. We had so many kiddos excited to be there. These are the first time parents are giving, us their children as 3 and 4 year olds. So there was a lot of pictures taking out there, and everyone was very exciting. And it was very nice to have Oroville Police Department officers come. They interacted with our students. They interacted with our staff. It was very positive, and we just really appreciated that. And it was something very wonderful, and we're looking forward to a great year.
Great. Thank you. All right. And comments by the public. At this time, the board will extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on matters which are school related. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Comments or questions may also be mailed to backpack@ocesd.net. Please include your first and last name in your email. Comments and questions received will be read into the record and or addressed during the meeting. However, comments received without the sender's name will not be shared during the meeting. Do we have any emails to read?
no, we do not.
Okay. Do we have any hands raised online?
No, we do not.
Okay. And we do not have any members of the public wishing to speak. So we will move on to Item 6, presentations. I understand we'll be pulling item A, summer school recap. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so we'll move on to item B, the 2023-24 enrollment update.
So today was the first day of school. Oroville has a tradition of starting our enrollment somewhere down here, and over the next 2 weeks, it really increases. I know that for, I'm sure, Spencer's first couple of years, and for a number of years when I was with Penny, it was always a bit of a roller coaster when 100 kids didn't show up that you thought were going to be there the first day. But after a couple of weeks, then they're there. So we had a strong first day enrollment. It was just about as high as we had last year, which we typically anticipate a decline. So that's really a positive sign. But the first couple of weeks of school, it's really hard to, at our next board meeting, we'll have a much better handle on what the actual enrollment is. We're just starting the roller coaster ride right now.
But we're starting it higher.
But we're starting it a little bit higher.
Okay.
So hopefully it'll be a much more enjoyable ride. So we'll be keeping track of our warm body counts is how we calculate that. And then over the next 2 weeks, and we'll be bringing back at the next board meeting a more complete, enrollment projection for the year. I will say we had really strong enrollment this year at Ishii Hills Middle School. Other schools were, all lower than I had projected for the whole picture, but that's how it typically is. Typically, you don't have any sites that are above where you projected them, but Ishii was above where I had projected their final enrollment being. What happens at Oroville Elementary is we have the 2 middle schools, and so sometimes there's some students that are transferred via board. There's a board policy about this, from Ishii to Central or Central to Ishii, to balance that out. So we'll see how that all plays out, but it's very, very early in the game at this point. So,
And I'll be giving on Friday in my Friday update, a good snapshot of what the next 2 days look like as far as our enrollment. But as I visited classrooms and reviewed the enrollment, we have a pretty average enrollment across the district. And what I mean by that is I don't have any classes that are really low or really high, which is really good, because sometimes we have to collapse classes and move teachers to other places where it's lopsided, and I haven't seen any of that so far. We may have one situation where I need to make one movement, but even that today, I was thinking, okay, we'll kind of wait and see. But for the most part, very balanced classrooms and very manageable classrooms as far as sizes go.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Yay. Do you know offhand what the maximum class size is for elementary?
So for kinder through 3rd grade, and when you say maximum class size is really a funny term, because it's not that simple. You have to have an average of 24-1 for kindergarten through 3rd grade for the year.
Okay.
So if conceptually I had 36 kids in a classroom for half the year and 12 kids in the same classroom for half the year, I would reach that goal. We try to keep it to 24-1. And then for 4th through 8th grade is 31. And then for the TK program, I think it's a hard it's a hard 12-1 adult to student ratio, capped at, is it 24-1 or 20-1?
24.
So it's a little more stringent because they're bringing out that, the Governor Newsom's new universal pre-kindergarten. So the rules for that are different than all the other grade levels, more strict, and have that adult to student ratio as well, which is more similar to preschool.
Now, why Andrew says it's a little more convoluted than that, the 24-1 for K3, we try to maintain that as a district because we get additional funding, or we get funding based on maintaining that average. Now, our contract with the teachers allows us essentially in most of our grade levels to go up to 30 or 31. And but we rarely do that. The only school that we usually have a problem with is Ophir, because it's always impacted. And so last year we had 3 5th grade classes. This year we're back down to 2. And I'll be watching those numbers very closely because it's tough to run a class with 31. But that's where I go to the schools this first week almost every day, and I'm watching that very closely so that we have a good student to classroom ratio. But sometimes it's in this climate, it's hard to find an additional teacher. So sometimes we have to live with just the contract language.
And to peek behind the curtain. So, this time of year for me, Eileen Dugan puts together the warm body counts that are collected from all the sites. And then she emails them to Spencer and Troy and I, but I don't get the email first. Spencer appears in my office immediately before I even can open the email to talk about the warm body count. So this is the top topic for the next 2 weeks. And this is pretty much what we talk about all the time.
He loves when I just show up unannounced.
I don't even think he walks in the door. He just appears.
Magically appears.
Just poof. There he is.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? All right. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, the action session, public comments on action items. The board will extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on items that are listed on the agenda. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Comments may also be emailed to backpack@ocesd.net. Please include your first and last name in your email. Comments received that pertain to items listed on the agenda will be read into record at this time. However, comments received without the sender's name will not be read. The Brown Act does not allow the governing board to discuss or take action on any item that is not on the posted agenda. Do we have any emails to read?
No, we do not.
Okay. Do we have any raised hands online?
No, we do not.
And we do not have anyone wishing to speak in public. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have a fairly short consent agenda.
And Madam President, I just want to bring one point to the board. Underneath the personal recommendation, there is a Crystal Love, and it says pending her passing all of her requirements to become a full-fledged teacher. And we got word that she's passed all of her things, so she'll be fully credentialed. So we just like the record to reflect that pending now is no longer pending, but she'll be go from substitute status to full teacher status.
Great.
And if we could just with the motion, just acknowledge that change.
Okay. Is there a motion on the table to approve the consent agenda with the change in Crystal Love's passing her requirements?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a comment.
Mhm.
I'd like to thank Ms. Love for her hard work and dedication throughout last year and for putting in the work and the time. And she had a class full of kids today and I saw her and it was wonderful.
Great. All right. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, so there's a motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Move on to item 9, new business, memorandum of understanding with Oroville Police Department for the school resource officer.
Madam President, I'm going to recuse myself from this item. I am employed by the Oroville Police Department.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President, it is recommended that a memorandum of understanding for a 5-year contract with the Oroville Police Department be approved for the service of a school resource officer in the OCESD schools beginning today, August 16th, 2023, and continuing through June 30th, 2028, for a cost of $50,000 per year. And I'd just like to say that that is a tremendous bargain for our school district. And again, kudos to the city for helping us put part of this bill. It's a great program, and just their presence alone really curbs a lot of situations.
Are we sharing with the high school again?
Pardon?
Are we gonna be sharing with the high school?
That's the better news. Bill's done a great job. Chief LeGrand's done a great job getting his staffing, and we all will be having our own SROs back in our districts.
So when you say having our own, does that mean we have a full-time?
We have a full-time dedicated school resource officer that essentially will toggle back and forth between our two middle schools, and then on call for our elementary schools as needed.
And I'm not sure, I don't know a lot of background on this, but do they have a job description specific for our district for what the duties that they will be doing at our schools?
So there's a contract where it talks about what they provide for us.
Mhm.
I don't get in the nuts and bolts about their training. But what I will share with you is that they do go through specialized training to be school resource officers. I met with ours today, and his number one goal is to build relationships of trust with kids, so that not only do they have a good impression now of police officers, but also in the future as they continue to work with our officers, throughout their lives here in Oroville. We really want to, I've really stressed that we want to focus on a couple things in our schools with their help, with their presence. And I prefer, peace officers versus SROs, because it's just like when we're driving in the car and we see a CHP, we slow down. Well, with their presence, when kids are making poor choices, they slow down or rethink their decisions. And so that's our number one goal. And my number one goal that I share with our SRO is we really want to make a dent with our fighting and help get kids get back into school with attendance and truancy.
Now, is this someone that?
An officer, a resource officer, or is this somebody that's just fresh out the gate?
I didn't ask him that question, and I don't know how much experience he has as an officer or as an SRO.
Would it be possible to schedule maybe a periodic presentation to the board about what the status is and of what's been happening?
Sure, I think that would be very easy for us to do.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mhm. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, is there a motion to approve the MOU with Orva Police Department for the school resource officer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? So motion carries with 4 yes votes with Bill recused.
Shall we go grab him?
Yes, please.
Leave him out there in the hallway. You guys gonna let me
All right, item B is to consider nominations for CSBA directors at large. So it's recommended that the board consider nominations for the CSBA's African American, American Indian, and county directors at large. Nominations for director at large must be made by a CSBA member board, and the nominee must be a board member from a CSBA member district or county office of education who has consented to be nominated. It is the responsibility of the nominating board to obtain permission prior to making the nomination. Do we have any nominations for the CSBA directors at large positions?
Do we have any volunteers?
So no. Do we?
Because we can't nominate anybody who hasn't volunteered.
And I don't know of anybody who's expressed interest.
Mm-mm. So there's nothing to vote on for this, correct? Okay. All right, item 10, business and finance, to accept mutual settlement agreement and final claim summary.
So during the North Complex fire, we lost the Feather Falls School and all the buildings surrounding it. This is the final insurance claim. It's taken this long, primarily because we're in this insurance claim with Pioneer Union Elementary School District. They lost the Berry Creek School. They've been fighting back and forth with the insurance company this whole time. We, agreed to our numbers pretty early. And so we've just been sort of waiting for it to settle. The long and the short of it is, because of the way the calculation was done according to the bylaws of the Butte School Self-Funded Programs, our deductible was $2.3 million. And the deductible for Pioneer was $148,000. So the proceeds from the insurance for us from the insurance is the $813,000. The remainder of the $3.18 million that is our deductible, that $2.3 million is what we turned into FEMA during the disaster, and we're getting reimbursed most of that money. And a lot of that has already been reimbursed. We're just waiting on some final paperwork with FEMA, and there has been no holdup with FEMA. It's just taken this long with FEMA. So this is where we are. I recommend that we accept the settlement agreement and move forward. I think we've kind of thought we would be doing this a long time ago, but I do believe it's fair for our loss, and I'm happy that it's being resolved finally.
And Andrew, could you give the board just kind of a round number of the net gain as far as the financials for this settlement agreement?
Yeah. So I can. So we the insurance company, when they looked at Feather Falls School, thought it was a replacement value of about $3.2 million. And the the Pioneer Berry Creek School was more like $13 million school. So when it came to the deductible calculation, that had to do with our total insurable assets in the district. So in Berry Creek's case, they had $13 million of insurable assets, though it wasn't insured at $13 million. But we have a lot more, because we have, a lot of much larger schools than the Berry Creek School. So that's how the deductible ended up the way it was, sort of lopsided. Instead of fighting this, because FEMA was going to correct it effectively, because it happened to be a disaster that was a FEMA disaster, and Cal OES are also involved, we expressed our concerns about the deductible to the BSSP, but it ultimately went nowhere, other than we are changing how we're doing that going forward, as opposed to it being your total assets as a district. It's going to be the total impacted assets, which make a lot more sense. Because it probably would have been something more like 60% for them and 30% for us, or something like that. The $800,000 and the remainder of that $3.2 million are funds that we have been putting into HVAC systems, and that's primarily where all this is going to go. And so we have been doing HVAC systems. I brought you some an RFP we did for phase one probably a year ago or more, but we're still in the process of getting that all knocked out, because it had required a lot of DSA approval, because some of the HVAC systems we're replacing were from the 70s and the buildings were kind of built around them. So that required it being engineered, which required the DSA to really scrutinize those plans to make sure that they're up to DSA standards. So that's where the money is going from the loss of Feather Falls School. And then as far as the property goes, I've been working originally, before the school burned down, we were working with the Feather Falls Historical Association to have them take over that site. They were interested in it. But I think there have been some health issues and things going on. So I might need to reevaluate what our plan is there. It's possible that I take this to a 7-Eleven committee to see about if we wanted to move forward a different way. And I'll let them evaluate that.
Any comments or questions from the board? Okay. Is there a motion to accept the mutual settlement agreement and final claim summary?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. Thank you. All right, item 11, curriculum and instruction, the Graffenried consultant agreement.
Thank you. In as far as with the district's continued partnership with the DOJ settlement, this is one of the recommendations that are coming from our advisor. Dr. Graffenried will be assisting in our PBIS district-wide program in the areas of the role of a clinician, in correspondence with our students who are participating in tier 2 and tier 3, who may be referred for a functional behavioral analysis, which is, if you've ever heard the term FBA, that's what it stands for, and how that plays with our curriculum and instruction support staff, being our therapists and counselors, anybody involved in that process at the site level. Dr. Graffenried comes to us from University of Washington, and their behavioral science program has accolades. I had the pleasure of being able to meet with her via Zoom. I see some great things that are going to happen as far as moving us forward, as well as giving our therapists a clear direction on what our role as clinicians in our district, what our roles will be.
Thank you. Any
Sure.
questions or comments from the board?
So are we going to be having a PBIS committee in the school eventually?
So we have PBIS committees
Mm.
in our schools already. And this particular consultant will be specifically working with our counselors, our educational therapists, which are who are our licensed social workers or our licensed MFTs. And she's going to be helping us to better assist with the students that are referred for that have more emotional needs. But it's also going to be able to kind of show us how to better utilize our current staff that we have in place. And so it's all part of our system to try to build in better policies, better systems, and better educational programs. So as we move forward, when we have these tough kids, we'll have a way to go from step A to step Z, because in the past we've kind of skipped around, and we're bringing in these professionals to kind of go, okay, here's where we start, then we go here, and then we go here, and then we go here. And as they're more intense, they get more intense support.
And just to comment on that as well, on my report on August 9th was when we met with each site has their own their team for each site. So we have a PBIS team at every site that handles from tier 1 all the way to tier 3. So they're a part of that process with the meetings, the documentation, and setting up all the paperwork. So we absolutely have that in place.
And just for your knowledge, board, because I know we use this common, this terminology every day and we forget. Tier 1 kids are just our gen ed kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the vast majority of our kids. Tier 2 kids are the kids that are just starting to act out or occasionally have issues. And we want to try to get them bumped back down into tier 1. And then our tier 3 kids are our kids that are continually getting in trouble. And those are the ones that we're really targeting right now to try to get them from tier 3 to tier 2 and hopefully back into tier 1. And so that's what we're really focusing on, is getting these higher tiered kids back into, where they're, making better choices. And sometimes it means training for them. Sometimes it means, counseling to them, It varies on their needs, but that's why our systems are so important so that we can put those systems in place so we can find out what's wrong, what's going on with the kids, and then addressing how to help them.
All right, is there a motion to approve the consultant agreement for Graph and Read?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion or questions from the board? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes. All right, item 12, personnel, consider request for leave of absence.
Madam President, it's recommended that a request for a leave of absence be considered for certificated employee number 1765, effective start date on the 14th of this month through January 5th of 2024.
Any discussion or questions from the board? Is there a motion to approve the request for leave of absence for certificate employee 1765?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries with 5 yes votes, and that takes us to our adjournment. I will adjourn the meeting at 6:13 PM. Thank you.